Good morning, little nerds. I'm Dr. Shereene Idriss, a board-certified dermatologist based in New York City, and welcome to my YouTube channel, where every Saturday morning we do a Pillow Talk Derm and we cover various topics: cosmetic industry, skincare concerns, ingredient stories, medical conditions, or even life. And I just want to say thank you to the million of you who have now joined me on your endeavor to empower yourself, because an educated nerd is an empowered nerd, and the sky is the limit when you reach that level. So without further ado, if you have not liked this video yet, like it, subscribe to my channel, and if you're too impatient to wait to find out what this video is about, let me know below what you want to learn about next week, and maybe we'll cover it then. For those of you who have just joined me, a question that has come up much more so in recent months is discoloration and hyperpigmentation and how to address it. I can't control the traffic in New York City. Thank you. I did that telepathically. So we're going to address that today. And I think it's important to take a step back and just appreciate how your skin tone can affect the aging process. So for those of you new, I've been practicing cosmetic dermatology for 10 plus years now in New York City. And I will tell you guys firsthand that it's oftentimes people come in, more often than not, for a fine line on their face. But it's really not that is aging them. And it's important to look at your face as a forest and to take a step back and to observe the forest and not hyper-focus on a tree, because people are focusing on the tiny trees when you have to look at the forest as a whole. And that's why, I don't know if you guys saw my video last week, I did a little tour of my office. I made a painting when I first opened this office, and it's at the reception desk, of a pixelated face where it looks like a bunch of dots, because if you hyper-focus on the dots, that's all you see. But when you take a step back, you see the face. And that was supposed to represent, subconsciously for patients, not to focus on the dots, although ironically, they keep asking me about the dots. So it's super important that you take a step back and you observe your skin tone as a whole. And very personally, again, very quickly, because there's a lot of new people here, patients, nerds. I had melasma. I have melasma. I went through IVF, so I had a lot of hormonal injections to get my babies, and it was with my son, my second one, that it erupted overnight and I looked like the crypt keeper. And the psychological burden of looking all of a sudden ruddy or tired can really affect your mental well-being. And that's when I had now a personal connection to the discoloration aspect of things, because I've been lucky where my skin tone has appeared even most of my life, but when that happened, it was like boom, everything came out. And I really had a better understanding of how people are psychologically disturbed by looking older, but they can't fully pinpoint why that is. And so I'm here to tell you guys, I would say 8 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, it's your skin tone that is making you look more tired and aging you. And when I say skin tone, I'm talking about your brown spots, your freckles that were once cute starting to mesh together and look messy, and underlying redness that is creeping through sun damage and broken blood vessels. And once you have that perfect storm of all of this going on, it's very easy to get confused and hyper-focus on a line, because that's your background and that's your canvas. But the reality is the canvas needs to be evened out. And so this is why I created my skincare line. Now, before I jump into this video, I'm going to use my products throughout this video to explain how pigment is produced, the importance of each ingredient, and to incorporate other ingredients which are not in my product line, because when you're attacking discoloration and hyperpigmentation, there's no silver bullet ingredient. It is a multi-ingredient approach, because you have to attack it through the surface of the skin, the melanocyte where pigment is made, within the melanocyte, and outside of the melanocyte how pigment is distributed. And so I'm going to use my products because I not only created them to simplify your routine, but I created them to give you the biggest bang for your buck in terms of ingredients and percentages, to attack this issue, but also to simplify your lives. So I'm going to obviously use them. That being said, you can use whatever you want and whatever combination of ingredients that you want to do, but I'm going to use them as the pillar of this video that we can work off of, okay? So starting with how pigment is produced. Within the top layer of skin, also known as the epidermis, you have pigment producing cells known as melanocytes. And melanin is produced within those melanocytes. And there's an enzyme known as tyrosinase, which is a key enzyme within the melanocyte that makes melanin. Now, once melanin is produced, it gets put into tiny little parcels known as melanosomes that then get distributed throughout your epidermis. And this process is a very simplified, broken down explanation of how pigment is made. And you can attack this process through several different layers. First way of attacking this process is through sunscreen. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the reality is the following. If you're going to invest time, effort, energy, and money into your skin and to evening out your skin tone, you're wasting all of the above if you're not protecting your skin on the daily, because you don't want to further worsen the damage that's already been done. And the damage has been done before you're actually 20 years old. Yeah, it has. My nose is leaking again. My allergies are bad. FYI, how cute is this? My derm warned me about you. It's in our limited edition breakup kit. Anyway, my derm warned me about you, the sun. So the sun and the damage is usually done before you're 20 years old, and it's creeping underneath the surface of the skin. And further UV exposure can cause that to appear faster as you get older. And not only that, if you have active acne or inflammation on your face, it can worsen the post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation because it activates the melanocyte while you have that inflammation. So that dark spot stays on your skin longer. So sunscreen, sunscreen, sunscreen. Not only when you're young, because when you're young, it's going to minimize any sort of damage that you're going to get later, especially if you're before 20 years old, but throughout your life to prevent further worsening of the damage that's already underneath the skin or further amplification of that damage that's already underneath your skin. Let us then go in back to our pigment pathway. FYI, this was very disturbing. My husband made this as a joke when I turned 40, but the joke fell short because it should have been 40 over 40, not 40 under 40. But I never actually made that list, and seeing my own face is really just not my vibe. Might have to move that. But okay, let's talk about the products. So Dr. Idriss is my skincare line. It was formerly known as Pillow Talk Derm. We had to rebrand. It's a story that you guys can find on a live below. I will link it below. There are three main steps to simplify your routine. There is the exfoliating flash mask, which we're going to talk about in a second. There is the powerhouse major fade Dr. Idriss Hyper Serum, which we will talk about next. And there is the last step, the Dr. Idriss Active Seal, okay? These are three steps that contain over 10 active ingredients. Once we're done talking about these, I'm going to talk about the additional ones you need. Starting with number one, the flash mask. This is an exfoliating flash mask which has alpha hydroxy acids like glycolic acid and lactic acid. Glycolic being the strongest one and the smallest one, so it goes the deepest and does the most work. Lactic helping with hyperpigmentation and discoloration, but it's also married to tranexamic acid, which is not an exfoliating acid. Tranexamic acid is something we prescribe in our practice for people with melasma, but I incorporated it in here in this step specifically because tranexamic acid is a very interesting ingredient that has, some suggest, the ability to slightly turn off your melanocyte by attacking the melanocyte stimulating hormone receptor, but also by inhibiting plasmin, which helps reduce melanin production and decrease hyperpigmentation. It has also been shown to inhibit the activation of certain molecules involved in the UV-induced pigmentation process. Remember how I said that the sun can cause your pigment to appear more pronounced than the damage that's underneath the skin? So it does provide a slightly protective effect against sun-induced darkening of the skin, and it has anti-inflammatory properties. So if you're somebody who's breaking out, you're going to put this on. It's going to help to minimize the appearance of those breakouts. It's very important because you're attacking the skin from the top, but you're also attacking the melanocyte from underneath. Then we have our Hyper Serum. The Hyper Serum is an important step in the routine because this is really attacking the melanocyte from within. And this particular product has a couple of key ingredients that you would probably want to incorporate in your routine as well. Alpha-arbutin. Alpha-arbutin is a very interesting ingredient because it inhibits the activity of tyrosinase. It is a cousin of hydroquinone, but it's not, and it converts into hydroquinone, but it is not hydroquinone. A lot of people ask me if it's safe in pregnancy or not. The reality is alpha-arbutin gets converted after it gets absorbed through your skin. So depending on your body surface area, how much you're using and how much actually gets converted, the logical answer is probably not enough to be dangerous, but nobody's ever going to do a test on a pregnant person to prove that. So you make what you want out of that. Personally, I used alpha-arbutin when I was pregnant. With my daughter, I did a much better job. With my son, my melasma was kept under control, and then literally it creeped up that 9th month in pregnancy. And if I'm being very frank, I think that alpha-arbutin and all of the products I was using, I wasn't using my products at the time, helped suppress it, but were not strong enough. And so when it erupted, it was bound to erupt, and it was only after the fact when I went back on stronger stuff that it got better. I would tell you guys, just speak to your OBGYN if you're nervous about using it. The second ingredient is kojic acid, and kojic acid is a key ingredient that you have to incorporate in your routine. It is primarily functioning as a tyrosinase inhibitor, and so it reduces the conversion of tyrosine into melanin, and it also has antioxidant properties. This also has niacinamide. Now, niacinamide is something you've probably all heard about, but higher than 5%, it can be inflammatory. So this is at 5%, so it's non-inflammatory, and it can inhibit the transfer of melanin from melanocytes to keratinocytes, as well as inhibit tyrosinase and have anti-inflammatory effects. Additionally, there is licorice root. Licorice root is something that is used in various different cultures throughout the world for its anti-inflammatory tyrosinase inhibitor effects, as well as antioxidant effects. And it also has glycyrrhizin and glabridin effects, which is another compound found in licorice that has been studied for its skin brightening effects. So this is a powerhouse of actives that target your tyrosinase enzyme as well as your brightening properties. I do use it, FYI, under my eyes. So last within the 3-step routine is the Active Seal. And this is a gel moisturizer, which is our vitamin C moisturizer. It's not the active form of vitamin C though. It is tetrahexyl decyl-ascorbate, which is the ester form of vitamin C, because I want you guys to use this twice a day. Why do I want you to use this twice a day? Because it also has 4-butylresorcinol, which is also a great tyrosinase inhibitor that does help and make kojic acid and alpha-arbutin work better. Plus, it has hexapeptide 2, which helps to minimize the look of fine lines, and hydrolyzed brassica napus seed cake extract, which also helps to diminish the look of stubborn spots. I laugh because I can never say that word without reading it. It just doesn't stick. So now we've gone through, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different ingredients within a 3-step routine that are gonna help your discoloration. So why do we need more? Great question. The one ingredient which is a must, especially if you have melasma, is hydroquinone. Hydroquinone is the gold standard. It used to be available over the counter, but it got pulled. When it was available over the counter, it was available at 2%, which quite honestly was too low of a percentage, but nice to have if people didn't have access to a dermatologist or a doctor. In order for it to truly be effective, it should be anywhere between 4 and I would say maximum 8%. Above 8%, you run the risk of getting ochronosis, which is a permanent discoloration and staining of your skin, and that cannot be reversed. And if you overuse it long term, that risk of ochronosis can actually become more enhanced. When I say overuse it, I mean use it continuously without taking breaks. But above 8% is when it has been really documented. Below 8% with breaks, you're safe. And that leads me to the safety record of hydroquinone. Hydroquinone has a bad rep, okay? The certain groups out there want to demonize it, but it is one of the, if not the best topical ingredient that we have to help you brighten and even out your skin tone. The reason it has a bad rep is because there are 2 studies that they're basing their poor judgment on. One is a study that was done on mice, where mice, a tiny mouse, was given systemic amounts of hydroquinone systemically through their veins, and the mice developed cancer. I think it was renal cancer, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously, if you gave me shitloads of, I don't know, aspartame into my veins, I might develop some other kind of cancer, but that's not how we are using it or ingesting it. Topical hydroquinone has to first of all get absorbed. And when you're talking about topical hydroquinone, you're usually probably talking about your face. You're not using it all over your body. And this is 3 to 5% of your body's surface area. So again, put things into context, look at the forest, don't focus on the tree. The second study that was done was just a faulty study. It was a study out of, I believe, South Africa, where hydroquinone was contaminated with mercury, which is very toxic. So just be very careful about where you're getting your information from, and make sure you're never buying hydroquinone from Amazon, because those can be contaminated with mercury. Why do they put mercury in it? Because it really does give a brightening effect very fast. So people think, oh, wow, 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 I look more even, I look more even, I look more glowy. And the reality is you're just basically killing yourself. So be careful where you buy your hydroquinone from. Let it always be prescription. And that leads me to other important ingredients that are very important for you guys to have in your routine, other than hydroquinone. I did not incorporate retinoids into my major fade system because it's so important for you as a consumer, as a patient, as a nerd, to know the type of retinoid that you're using and the strength. Because you don't want to just throw retinols in there and then all of a sudden you get reactive and you don't know to what you're reacting to, and it might be too strong for your skin, because it is known that retinols can be irritating. But retinoids are great if you have discoloration, and especially melasma, because they help with cellular turnover, accelerating it and making sure your skin stays more fresh on your face. You have less buildup, it looks less ruddy, but it also helps with melanin regulation by influencing the activity of melanocytes. Plus the bonus that everybody loves, it has collagen stimulating properties. The third ingredient that I did not incorporate is azelaic acid. Azelaic acid is one that is prescribed at 15% and available over the counter at anything from like 0 to 10%. It is extremely hard to formulate azelaic acid, and things can pill very fast with azelaic acid, which makes it a not elegant experience. And nobody wants to use it on their face if they're gonna have pilling right afterwards. My products have high concentration of actives. And so when you have a lot of actives together, once the water component of your moisturizer sort of dries out, sometimes you might have that pilling. So I didn't want to emphasize anything with azelaic acid, which would become then super pronounced. But azelaic acid, a 15% prescription, is a beautiful adjunct because it has not only anti-inflammatory effects, not only does it normalize cell turnover, it has the ability to help with melanin dispersion. Once melanin is made and thrown throughout your skin, it helps to break it up and to even out your tone so that you don't have clusters of melanin leading to post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So azelaic acid is great for that. And then topical cysteamine. Topical cysteamine is one that came out on the market with a huge bang in 2020. It inhibits melanin synthesis through cysteamine hydrochloride, which is a metabolite of L-cysteine. And this works through 3 ways: by inhibiting tyrosinase and peroxidase, by chelating iron and copper ions, and by increasing intracellular glutathione. It is a tricky ingredient for many people, and it can be very irritating. It can cause redness, dryness, and itchiness, as well as burning. Products on the market that contain cysteamine are like Cispera, and Urban Skin RX also has a cysteamine pre-cleanse treatment. So you have to use it before you even cleanse your face. It's an extra step in your nightly routine. Again, if you are desperate, go for it. And then last, I think there are people who are really talking about intravenous glutathione. Apparently it's really big in the Far East. It is extremely controversial, glutathione, because it is a tyrosinase inhibitor, but there's a huge question mark surrounding not only its safety profile, but also its regulatory concerns. Where the F are they getting it? How are they regulating it? What dose are you getting? How much is being inserted into your veins? And then can it have systemic effects, i.e. are your kidneys gonna shut? So just be careful about that. So those are all the topical products. So the biggest ones I would incorporate as an add-on to the Dr. Idriss Major Fade line: if you have melasma, hydroquinone; if you have really stubborn spots, hydroquinone. I think as a general rule of thumb for anti-aging, retinols, but also to help boost that extra oomph for skin color as well. Azelaic acid, I think, is great if you have active inflammation like acne and you're using this. It's going to help minimize any residual effects of your acne. And then the other 2 is really just a step above and beyond because you are a honor roll student and you just want to go wild. And this leads me then to laser treatments, which we're not going to fully dive into, but the way I view laser treatments are like a boost to your skincare routine. If you're not doing the essentials every day, and militantly so, there's no point in getting a laser treatment because you're not going to be able to maintain those effects. It's almost like saying, I got myself an 8-pack through a machine, but I'm never going to go to the gym and I'm never going to use the machine again. There's no point in getting the 8-pack through the machine, right? I'm talking about your abs, like those M Sculpts or AccuFit. Like if you're not going to the gym, don't do it. It's not worth it. You're wasting your money. If you are going to the gym and doing your skincare routine every single day, you're a step ahead, and the lasers are a great boost to get you to where you really want to be, but you have to maintain that. And remember what I said, the damage is done before you're 20 and the damage is under the surface of your skin. So you really want to make sure that you are addressing it consistently over time. That is the name of the game, consistency over intensity. We can do a whole other video on laser treatments, but I hope this video was helpful. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever it is, let me know below, and I will see you guys next week. Have a beautiful Saturday.